Are you ready for the substance? Hey Lashy Kids and Driving Mutants, it's Lady Shasha, Mistress of the Snark, and I just watched The Substance. An aging actress, Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, who still looks amazing by the way, is being told they want to replace her with someone younger. First of all, I have to tell you that I love the visual storytelling in this movie. There's a sequence with her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame that just shows its progression from being brand new to aging over the years, and even the attention that the star gets starts to fade. Back to the plot. I like the juxtaposition of this aging, really repulsive, disgusting older man sitting across from the table telling Demi Moore that she is too old. And they do everything to make this character look as repulsive and disgusting as they possibly can. And his name is Harvey. If you know, you know. He's literally sitting across the table from her, wrinkled AF, aging like milk, telling her that she's past her prime. And by the way, Demi Moore is 61 years old and looks amazing. But I think that was the point. Anyways, one day she is driving in her car and she spots a billboard of herself and she sees the workers removing her picture from the billboard, which causes her to not pay attention to the road and get into a car accident. At the hospital where she's being checked out, unfortunately for her, she didn't break any bones, has no internal bleeding, she's all good. She meets a nurse who introduces her to the idea of the substance. The nurse, by the way, kind of looks like a mannequin himself. And I think that's intentional too. It is meant to feel very uncanny valley-ish. By the way, as I'm going through the plot, I'm not going to spoil this movie, I promise you. Not until the very end of this video. But if you want to go in blind and not know anything about this movie, I suggest you, well, the trailer doesn't really reveal what all happens in this movie. And I love that. I love this new thing we're doing with trailers and not revealing the movie. Well, with the exception of the Speak No Evil trailer. Don't watch the Speak No Evil trailer if you're planning on seeing Speak No Evil. In this movie, Demi Moore literally and figuratively bears all. This performance is one of those that I really feel, if it was not in a horror film, would be nominated for awards. I just know it. It's up there with Toni Collette in Hereditary, Lupita Nyong'o in Us. There was someone else recently that I thought their performance, Halle Berry in Never Let Go. And not to mention, keep in mind, these are all actors over the age of 50 doing the damn thing fabulously. Now back to the literally bearing all. I mean, Demi Moore probably showed more of her body in this movie than she did in Striptease. Mind you, I just told you she is 61 years old. I love this for her. That is, if it's all her and not a body double. I don't think they used a body double, but if they did, oh well. Also have to note that she has a confident sense of self. There are a lot of actresses that would not have taken this role because of the implication that they are past their prime. You really have to have a healthy self-esteem and sense of self to take on a role like this. If you've seen the trailer, then you know that something happens that causes her to live as a younger version of herself. The actress playing the younger her is Margaret Qualley, or Qualley. Sorry if I mispronounced that. She goes by the name Sue when she is younger. So when I say Sue, you know I'm talking about younger Elizabeth. I haven't seen Margaret Qualley in anything before this, but I thought she did a good job. Let's talk about the social subtext of this movie, which is one of my favorite things about horror, is that a lot of horror movies have something to say. And this one quite clearly is an examination of the ageism and sexism in Hollywood. Let's talk about the horror. In case you didn't know, this is a body horror film, which is one of my favorite genres of horror. Aside from slashers and paranormal horror, those are my jams. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is Sue being interviewed by a not Arsenio Hall type dude, while Elizabeth is giving her campiest performance. And mind you, the competition for this is stiff. It's between Glenn Close as Alberta in The Deliverance, Catherine Hunter as Solange in The Front Room, and now Demi Moore as an older Elizabeth in this movie. I mean, you just have to see it. I can't, there aren't words. Like, I wanted to give you a completely spoiler-free review, but I have to talk about this movie because I love it so much. It's probably one of my favorite movies of the year. I swear, I feel like I was starving for this type of energy, and this year is feeding me. I get to eat. If I entertained you, made you smile, or helped you pass the time, please consider supporting this channel so that I can do that more. Horror channels often get suppressed and demonetized, but you can help in 3 ways: by pledging a monthly contribution on Patreon, sending a one-time tip using your preferred financial app, or you could help for free by liking and commenting for the algorithm, and most importantly, sharing this video on your social media. Thank you so much. The effects in this are top notch, and there are some pretty nasty effects in this. I'm not going to describe to you what happens because it is such a wonderful surprise. I want you to enjoy it. I will say this: if you like unsettling body horror of a Cronenbergian variety, this is right up your alley for the first half. Then it takes a swift left turn into Frank Henenlotter-Brian-Yuzna-ville, and that's
Now, I call that showmanship, Lieutenant.
And when I say that, I mean splatter gore. We're talking, do you know who Screaming Mad George is? You're going to like the ending of this. That's all I'll say. If you don't know who Screaming Mad George is, he is a special effects technician. Very, very popular in the 80s. Look up his work. It's some of my favorite work. I'll also say this, that this movie has more of a what the fuck ending than Barbarian and Malignant put together. I mean, can you tell how much I loved it? I mean, I am the gore connoisseur. This is written and directed by Qualley Fargate. Brava, Qualley. I see you grew up with an appreciation for the same classics that I did. We love to see it. Benjamin Kraken was the cinematographer on this, and he did an amazing job. There's some really great scenes that were elevated by how they were filmed. But the stars of this production, aside from Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, is the special effects department. I love to see how many women are in the special effects tech side now. This is like my dream come true. I love seeing this type of thing. But I had to give them their props because they did the damn thing. Like, I cannot express to you how appreciative I am as a person who grew up seeing so many 80s horror movies with the type of effects that we get in this film. Chef's kiss.
It's disgusting. Ugh. I love it.
Now, I really want to get into spoilers. So, for those of you that do not want to know the ending of this movie, go out and see the substance, come back and watch the ending of this video so I can really get into the spoilers. Okay, so at this point, I really want to get into the spoilers so badly. So I'm going to tell you, stop my video right here. Give it a thumbs up, by the way, before you go. Come back to it after you watch the substance, and then you can enjoy the spoilers as I get into them. But you know, I'm pretty sure I've made it clear how much I enjoy this movie, how much I recommend it for all the gore hounds in the world. Like, it's so much fun. It was so much fun. Mind you, I told you the first half is a little bit Cronenbergian, so that means that it's going to be a little bit of a slow build-up, but it's worth it. The payoff, in my opinion, is worth it. Not everybody's going to agree with me. You know how I end my videos. You know how I always say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. And just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Let me know what you thought about the substance. And now I'm about to get into the spoilers. So until next time, for those of you that don't want to be spoiled, I will see you next time. For those of you that do want to be spoiled, let's get into it. Okay, number one, the way the substance works. And what's funny is it kind of reminds me of this is what I have right here from Reanimator. The substance looks kind of similar to this. She actually gets it in, I think she gets it in a container like this. The substance, it comes in like maybe a lighter green than this, more towards a yellowish than this specific color. But she gets a substance like this, and then it's labeled activator. So then she has to, inject herself with the activator. And the first sequence of her body splitting open from the back, great work. I mean, flawless, in my opinion. Flawless special effects work. I love it. I love the concept of it. I thought it was a very interesting convention that she had to trade off time. 1 week on and 1 week off. 1 week on for her younger self and 1 week on for her older self. Now, what happens that messes the whole thing up is her younger self gets greedy because she was told 7 days on, 7 days off. You cannot bypass that. You can't fuck around with that. Her younger self is like, nah, I'm having too much of a good time. I'm going to take extra time and extra days. And this is where things start to go wrong because then her older self becomes even older and older and older. And it's beyond like what a more than 100-year-old person might look like. Now you think, oh, well, that sounds like it might be grotesque, which at one point it is kind of grotesque, but they don't stop there. And this is what I love about this movie. One thing I thought was funny, though, when she's 1 week on and 1 week off, one of the bodies is just laying in the apartment, whether it's the old body or the young body. And for the first couple of times, she just left her body laying in the bathroom like Peter Griffin. And I was like, why not just put it in the bed or something so that it's not just laying on the floor like that? But she does eventually move it to another area. But I just thought that was funny. Now, here's where things go even worse. Whew. Now, I told you about one of my favorite scenes. Younger Sue is being interviewed on a late night TV show. Older Elizabeth, after she's gone through her whole... No, actually, it's before her final elderly phase. Kind of when she looks maybe about 90 years old. Anyway, she's flipping out in the kitchen. And it's just such an over-the-top, dramatic, campy scene. I love it. I love everything about it. Beyond that, after she changes into an even older, more grotesque, and when I'm saying grotesque, I don't mean just, as, elderly people are grotesque. No, this is not regular aging. Because of the substance, the aging is also causing her to mutate a little bit. So she's old and mutated, and then there's this scene where they're fighting each other and they're trying to kill each other. Even though they're the same person, mind you, this whole time, she's being told over and over again, both of these entities are both you. You can't just, try to ice each other without there being a certain procedure. So she starts to go through the procedure to ice her younger self, but then at the last minute, she changes her mind. And the worst thing she could have done was change her mind and revive her younger self, because that younger self came back to life and iced her. And so the younger self thinks that she's going to get away scot-free because she has this whole big thing coming up. She's supposed to host like a New Year's Eve thing in LA, which who watches that? Everyone watches New York. We watch New York for New Year's Eve. I don't even know what they do in LA for New Year's Eve. But that's a side point. She's supposed to host this whole thing in LA for New Year's Eve, and she got her dress on and everything. And she goes over to the studio and her teeth start falling out. They made that look really, really real. Her teeth falling out, and then she's trying to get away. And the old producer comes up with even older producers, and they're all staring and hawking at her like a bunch of old lecherous old men, old nasty old men. So she tries to get away from them, and she gets into the elevator. Her ear falls off. For her, it was giving that's what was giving me a little bit of Cronenberg, because you remember in The Fly when Jeff Goldblum's ear fell off?
My ear.
And then he opened up the medicine cabinet. He had all his parts in there, including his twick and berries up in there.
Artifacts of a bygone era. Of historical interest only.
If you pause it, you can see his whole walls and penis are in the cabinet. It's a wild scene. Anyways, her ear falls off in the elevator, and she decides to go home. For some reason, she continues to mutate into a creature. And it's so funny because the creature she mutates into is I wrote my notes. At the end, she looked like someone mixed Belial from Basket Case with the old dude that was fucking with the resonator in From Beyond. or two-person shunting from Society. If you don't know what shunting is, go watch Brian Yuzna's Society. It's an amazing movie. When I say it's amazing, I mean it's amazing to me because, I mean, maybe somebody might watch it and say, okay, the acting in this might be a little bit mediocre. Yeah, kind of. But I like the story that Society is telling, and I love the ending with the shunting. So go watch that if you have not watched Society. Anyways, like I was saying, she turns into Belial shunting ass creature, and why was she sitting in the mirror still putting on her earrings? But her ear, she doesn't have an ear, so she just kind of hangs the earring on a available hole. I know this sounds like the rantings of a mad woman, but this really happened. Meanwhile, Demi Moore's face is sticking out of her back, and she's just back there like, help me. Kind of like if we ever saw the original 1950s The Fly, how homeboy was in the spider web. He's like, help me. That was Demi Moore on the creature's back. Why am I laughing about this now? So she puts her dress kind of back on because it doesn't fit properly and goes back. Oh, I forgot. She cut out the picture in the apartment. Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth, has this giant poster-sized painting, oh, even bigger than a poster-sized portrait of herself on the wall. So she takes a portrait off the wall and cuts the head out of the picture and then makes a mask and puts it on her face because, you know, she's completely deformed at this point. And she goes to host the New Year's Eve. I said New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve festival or TV program show, whatever. They had like little Rockette girls, except they're not like Rockettes because they're more like showgirls because they were topless. And I'm like, is this supposed to be in Vegas or is this in LA? Because it was giving very much Vegas. Anyways, she goes to host the show and everyone's acting like they don't even notice that she's all deformed and has a humpback and a lady's face sticking out of her back and something pasted on her face. And she goes up on stage and the picture of Elizabeth falls off her face and then she continues to mutate. And in her mutations, there's like how do I describe this? The people start responding to her in a similar way to, there's a scene in The Elephant Man where the people are yelling freak at him. That's the first movie that ever made me cry, by the way. The Elephant Man is a very, very sad movie. It like tugged at my heartstrings. But the people start responding to her the same way, calling her a freak. And a guy comes up and basically bashes her head in. But you think, oh, this is going to be the end of the movie. No. She grows another head, and the head has like a eye socket that is missing an eye, and then a breast grows out of the eye socket, and then it falls onto the ground, which was a callback to a scene where Sue was going to a casting call, and the girl that was being called before her, Sue overhears the casting directors say, I wish that girl's boobs were in a place of her face, or no, in place of her nose, something like that, because she had, I guess they were alluding to her having a big nose or an unattractive nose, but they basically said something to the effect of, oh, I wish her boobs were in place of her nose. And so I think the creature growing a breast out of their face was a callback to that scene. Can you tell that I love the batshit craziness of this? Oh, I love this. So that breast comes out of the eye socket and falls on the floor. And she runs out of the theater where they're filming the New Year's Eve special, out onto the street where she continues to like deteriorate until like her face comes off. Well, Demi Moore's face that was on her back comes off and it lands on these Hollywood star with her name on it, and then the face starts to melt, and then you see the sunrise and some type of cleaning, you know, a sidewalk cleaning machine cleans up the mess, and that's the end of the movie. I enjoyed that. I forgot one more note that said what she looked like. The creature, when she was on stage, kind of reminded me of what happened to the evil dude in The Fly Part 2. Like that type of mutated stuff. But I really, really enjoyed the batshit craziness of the ending of this movie. And we need more of this. And now, Barbarian, you are not the only movie to have a titty monster in it. We now have more than one titty monster. And I love that for us. So, did you guys see The Substance? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Until next time.
Balance is not working.
Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop?
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
People are gonna love that.
Special thank you to my patrons. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Reminder to new and returning Latchkey kids, don't forget to follow me on your preferred social media platform and check the community tab on YouTube for some fun extras. By the way, here are some other videos you might like.